Today I want to talk to you guys about tires and tire pressure. I've not been very happy with the place locally that I had been going to do my tires, so I found a new place today, Haley European Motors, and took the car over there to get a fresh set of the Michelin PS4S's on the M4. While I was there, I met the owner, Matt, and he actually did the work himself on my car and was cool enough to volunteer a little bit of video for you guys so you could see a little bit of the behind-the-scene process. So here's a little video on my trip to Haley European Motors, and I was very pleased with these guys. Hey guys, I'm here with Matt Haley with Haley European Motors, and today I brought the M4 in for a tire change. And he was kind enough to invite me to do a little bit of video on it. So if your tires ever look like this, you waited a lot too long. So there's a little bit of the cords showing through my tires, and he noticed that on the front right it's a little bit of a different wear pattern than on my left front. So here's the left front here, and that looks a lot more standard. So I'm just going to let him tell you guys a little bit about what to look for if you are getting some new tires and wear patterns and alignment, that kind of issue.
Yeah, this is kind of the classic sort of thing we look for when you're getting new tires put on. Is you just kind of worn through to the cords. You get to that, you just don't really have the tread to displace the water, and it just kind of get dangerous, especially on the front axle. And you can see how the rubber compounds actually change once you get down past the tread wear.
Oh yeah,
part of it. And they call that secondary rubber. That's another indication to look for too. You'll get that before you get the metal cords. Yeah. So kind of a, if you're walking past your car sort of thing, you're like, where are my tires at? And look at that first tread block. And on this particular setup too, I've noticed since there's a differential in kind of wear patterns, it looks like there might be just an alignment issue. Probably a simple adjustment in this case. It'll help them wear even, so you're not having to replace just one tire, which doesn't happen very often. Usually you'll just put both tires on.
Yeah, my car has been pulling a little bit to the right, so it definitely does seem like there is a little bit of an alignment issue, but since I have the KW Club Sports, it shouldn't be too hard to dial it in, so we might do a little alignment while we're here as well.
Yep, that's the rears going on.
All right, so while it's here, I think we're gonna take one of my rears over to the tire changer, or are we gonna do the front? We'll do a front now?
No, we'll do the rear since he's already got that set up.
Okay, he's got the rear set up, so we're gonna go see what it looks like to change one of these things. All right, changing a tire 101. Valve stem out?
So you just need to break the bead, and it's really kind of hard with these nicer wheels, just by design. It has a whole lot to work with an aspect ratio of, I think it's 55, I believe, 55 millimeters. It's just real hard to do by hand, so you kind of need some help.
This is a Corghi?
Yep. It's Italian. No, you're just doing the bottom.
That means it's maintenance free then.
Yeah, not exactly. But it's actually, it's not been too horribly expensive to keep up.
It's good. Break it from the bottom?
Yeah, and a lot of the surfaces that we're using to really get in there are nylon, so they're not going to mar up wheels and stuff like that. And even the clamping device on there, you can see that yellow part in the middle. That's like plastic. Yeah. And when you get to work with one of these machines, you can appreciate all the little things that they're doing. Like right now, when he's pulling the wheel off, you see that little gap, so it doesn't hit the wheel.
Right.
That's engineered in there. And to set it, he's already set it on the last tire, so unfortunately I won't be able to show you that. But you kind of put it all the way up against the wheel real carefully, and then you hit the little button in the middle of the handle here, and it gives that
backs it off,
and then it's set.
Yeah.
So you just swing it all the way when you're done with it, swing it back when you need it again. So it's real slick. And doing the tires always feels a little bit like wrestling.
Yeah.
Some weird angles.
It's gonna be an Olympic sport in the next 4 years.
Yeah, it could be. I think it'd be neat to see somebody pull a tire off in 2 seconds, you know,
Yeah.
or whatever
Yeah.
extreme it might be. And then the other variable too is they've got, I mean, look how much tire sensor sticks out there.
Yeah.
You can't see
Right.
until you got it off. You just have to kind of be careful around that area. I'm sure everybody knows how much those are.
Those were just added, and they were not cheap.
Yeah. And you'll see when he goes back with the tire, put it on, he'll use the bucket of lube just to kind of lube the tire and the wheel up.
Yep.
Because you really are stretching a rubber band over a rim, essentially. And there's a little bit of friction involved. You don't want
Help it go on.
to tear anything up. But this machine kind of does everything. Everything except balance it. Air it up and everything. This one has a little
So you put a
lip.
little lube on the drum there.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
thing has
Help it
basically
slide down?
a straight barrel.
Yeah.
And so usually they have a little more taper than that, but being
yeah.
low profile and wide, it's almost straight, and so
Right.
it has a hard time sliding down.
Got it. Yep.
You'll see when he goes on, it'll seem like it's getting stuck after it gets over the lip.
Gotcha.
The first one, the lip on the front there. Sometimes they just fall on like that. There it goes, it's a little tight.
You can thank the guys at Signature for that.
On a lot of the other standard tire machines, this is usually a 2-person job. Just
I
this
can imagine.
part right here. And if there's any guys watching, they know. They'll do tires and don't have a real nice tire machine. Remember being there.
So I should get one of these for my new shop, is what you're saying.
Yes, sir. It's a worthy investment.
My one tire change per year.
Yeah. Yeah, this is unfortunately one of those things that not many can do at home.
Okay.
But it's good to have a shop to take it to. And heck, you might have some other questions while you're there.
Exactly.
They can help with stuff like that. We like to do that.
Ready for the big pop.
There it is.
So someone was mentioning on one of the other videos that I posted that the valve stem thing, when you put it back in, it's got its own little torque thing built
Yep.
into it.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. Alright. And you said you weighed the last wheel without the tire on it, right?
Yeah. It
What was that?
like 21 pounds
Yeah, with the
Still had a
with the
weight on it.
CPMS,
CPMS,
and
yeah.
still a sticky weight on the back.
wow. Way to go, Signature. Good job.
Yep.
Just toss it on the Hunter machine. This is the Hammerhead. Scrape off the old weights.
Another good practice is on the weight. We'll see how much weight the other one takes. And put the one with the most weight on the right rear.
Okay.
Not that it'll matter, but sometimes on the BMWs, they kind of suck up all that feedback that the road's giving you through the tires and things like that. And sometimes the weights, if there's a lot of weight put on there, you can feel it at a higher speed.
So the right rear gets the most, the one with the most weights added.
Yeah.
They seem to get the best reviews on this car.
Yeah, they have.
And
I was going to ask your opinion
on the track, yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
I haven't compared anything else on this car, but no complaints.
So when you start at the top, like
Yeah, I know.
That's the point.
I was just glad that they were in stock. Hard to get sometimes, I hear.
Sometimes, yeah.
So that's cool. It's got a big roller in there, so I guess that what rolls over the surface of the tire to find the hard spots and all that goodness.
Yeah, so it has like a big old airbag back there that it inflates to move the roller in onto the tire.
Okay.
Putting pressure.
Gives you a little laser line where to put the weights.
The exact same place as the old weights.
Oh, that's nice. Consistency is a good thing.
Yeah.
I should have left the old weights on there.
Yeah, it might have been the
I
same.
do that sometimes.
It's so rarely the case that it's not worth it. But sometimes you're like, snap, I just spent all that time cleaning all the goo off and now I'm going to goo right on top of it again.
So what the machine is basically telling you, if that is more than you like, and it is more than the machine likes, you can select a part of the program that'll walk you through what it suggests as far as tire to rim placement. So basically, you're going to spin the tire on the rim to the perfect place.
Gotcha.
And it should bring your, total
Right, because
weight down.
one part of the wheel is heavier and one part of the tire is heavier, so you're just trying to match them up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's-
When you're going 200 mile an hour down the road,
yeah.
it makes it.
And she's balanced.
Cool.
All right, so Matt's going to tell us a little bit about tire pressures, because I've always just run 32 PSI, but he has some good guidance for you on European spec cars specifically.
Yeah, I've noticed just with my experience, and I just pass this kind of stuff on. I've been to different track day events for folks and different groups through the years, and I've noticed that the Europeans, Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, all those guys, the Germans mainly, they'll publish their tire pressures kind of on the low side of things. And I've noticed that on the front axle, which is the steering axle, you get what's kind of called like scrub. So the edges of the tires will kind of start to wear out a little faster than the middle of the tire. That has a lot to do with the way everything's designed and the tire pressures that you're using. And I've noticed that if you run the factory tire pressures that are published on the gas door in a lot of cases, or the door jump, you probably run into this if you're daily driving it in the city. You'll notice that your tire pressures will be set at roughly around 32. It's pretty standard.
Yeah, that's what I do in mine.
And it'll start to wear out the inside and outside faster than the center.
Yeah, that's
of the
exactly
tire.
what's happened to mine.
And in a case like this where you're using the car on the track for track days too, I know it's kind of a pain, but to adjust tire pressures to be lower if you're going to do what I'm recommending from
Right.
the city driving.
Yeah.
And then pumping them back up, I guess, is the harder part a lot of times. But these cars come with that end mobility kit in some cases.
That's right. Yep.
And a lot of times you just
Plug it
open
right
the
in.
trunk, you plug it right in. Yeah, done. You don't see it so much on the rear tires. You actually see, if you do a lot of highway driving, the center of the tire wearing out on the right rear first more than anything. So if you get tires like this, a lot of customers, I tell them, go ahead and rotate them side to side. Now I know they're different widths front to back, but if you don't get a directional tire, you just get one that shows, and you can tell by the tire if it says,
yeah, there'll be a little direction and
there'll be an arrow. Yeah, right next to,
I believe these are non-directional.
Right here we go. Clean that off. If it just says outside
yep.
and there's no arrow on either side or anywhere on the tire, then this is something that you can throw on the other side.
Yep.
Without any adverse effects.
Right.
If that's something that works for you.
Yep.
Sometimes the tires are so worn out anyway, it's not worth it. But a nice little trick for some guys.
Sure. And talk about that built-in toe.
So yeah, one of the things that kind of accelerates that wear I was just talking about is something they call a toe out on turns. So when you're doing extreme turn angles, like in a parking lot or something like that, going into a driveway, the tire will actually, we'll just pretend this one's on the right front. We'll make a left turn, the angle will change, so it'll ride more on the outside of the tire on a left turn if it's sitting on the right front. And then the opposite happens on a right turn. It'll just kind of scrub, is what I call it, the left inner edge of the tire more. And that's kind of an extreme example, but that's kind of the idea. If you ever go out to your car and just turn it all the way to the lock, you kind of look at it. It's visible. You can see what I'm talking about there. Tire pressure's helping that. So.
Yeah.
And it just seems to be the most case. I see a lot of the middle of the tires still pretty good on the fronts.
Yeah, so you recommend for my particular setup that I switch from 32 PSI to about, what, 36?
Yeah, 36. Some guys like to use 40.
Okay.
Anywhere in there, 38.
Okay, and that way it's going to be wearing the inside more, not scrubbing on the outside. So I'm gonna take your advice on that one and try it out this time. See what happens. All right, guys, hope you found that helpful and got some useful information out of it. I'm going to be going back to Matt's shop in the near future, and he's going to do an alignment for me. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and see what he can show us. And I'm also going to see if he can do some adjustments on my KW Club Sports, because I've never really known how to set them up appropriately. So he is going to hopefully talk us through a little bit of that. So look forward to that in an upcoming video. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and we'll see you next week.